Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding today in Chulin Daf Mem. We're starting in the Mishnah in Daf on the Testament base. In the bottom is the Mishnah. Hashoichet l'shem harim, l'shem gvos, l'shem yomim, l'shem nehorois, shem midboris. Meaning, he made avodah zarah. He's going to make the water. He's worshiping now the seas. He's worshiping the mountains, the hills, the rivers, the deserts.
You can make it about desire.
Oh, so then it's shchitas psula. Shchitas psula. So the Mishnah of Yom Daleth, we'll see the Gemara. You want to say?
Attached to the ground is not. It can't be in the desire.
Oh, so it's not avodah zarah, but shchitas psula. We'll see in a moment. Says the Mishnah of Yom Daleth. You have two people shechted together. So if one of the shechetim is ruining it, it's a problem as well. Even though it's not all of them, and we'll see the Gemara a little bit more about that. Says the Gemara is like this: Psuloyin zivchim meisim lohoi. Mashma, it's only a din of apostles. You can't eat it. But it's not zivche mesim. It becomes an avela, but not a. Why should it become an avela?
It's an avela, or it's taken away from the shechita. It's not a shechita, but it takes it away from the top of the avela.
I hear, maybe. But what it means is not for the zor. Might have come in if it's for the zor or not. So by no or not.
So I'm saying, so it's not a so what would he say? It's psula. What is it? Why is it puzzle?
Oh,
it should be nothing.
So why? So he says. Right, okay, 1 second. Let's see. There's a Rashi I want to read over here. We'll get there in a moment. So, Psula in Zivcha Mesim Loi. For mini, Hashoichet l'shum horim, l'shum gvois, prison shechts, for mountains, for hills, shum naharos, for rivers, the shum boyers, for desert, the shum chamo v'levano, for the sun, for the moon, shum koichovim, for mazolos, for stars and cancellations, shum michoel asar gadol, meaning the maloch, the shum shilshul katon, even a small little lizard, not lizard, shilshul, I don't know, it's like the little worm. Harei luzim chamesi. It's also right on. So it is a v'dazar.
So wait, is it the Mishnah's l'shem and l'shum is the same?
Yeah, it's the same. We don't change that. So the Gemara Abaye l'kasho. Had the Omar lahar, had the Omar l'godo dehar. Depends if he said to the mountain or he said to the malach of the mountain. The mountain is not doesn't cover the zara. So let's see Rashi just to answer Mo's question. Rashi really addresses it. The Omar l'shum har zok Rashi hari no now seven kachovim doesn't cover the zara. We're right the second third narrow line. Hari no now seven kachovim dichtiv Elohem Eloharim Eloharim Elohem. We learn some of the zara. That the only thing that because of you can make of the zara only is something which is on the mountain, not the mountain itself. Hilkach l'shman lo'imikri zivche mesim. That's what's happening to the zara. Umiu psulo milecho. Why? Shum dedamyo l'shchitas v'skachovim umichlef habo. Okay, now the kavanah shech l'shumnida v'nida l'shchitas psul b'shu dedom l'shech l'shebachutz. So the reason over here it's asur. So then it's because it looks like avodah zarah. Yeah.
No, actually, listen. It's just like it looks like.
Looks like. What? The rice is mutter. Because it's not with the zara, so you're just saying for something. So what? There's no purpose over here. Okay. There's a long taste over here regarding referring to a little bit to the kisui of the har. When you have the cover of the mountain, what happens to that? It goes into tzipuyim and things like that. It has to do with the animals. But what is the other tzad? When is avodah zarah? When he's doing the shame, godadar, which is what? Rashi says, Maloch hamimune alor.
It's like the sar?
Yeah, it's like the Malach. And that's not mechubar. And because not mechubar, so therefore you have a din of, so you do avodah zarah, right? How do Maloch do godadar? They cannot nektani do the michol sar godol. Because in the same price of one of the things on the list is Michal Sar Gadol, referring to what? To the Malach, who's Munit. Right? That's what he says. Good. Now, yeah, okay, Shwaminu. So we talk about what he's doing for the matzah. I forget who says it. The Shiloh, when you say Chamu v'Levono, so measure the second one, we said that anything which is connected, you don't have a din with the Zor. Where is Chamu v'Levono connected to? So, I think it was Rashi Toys that he brought it. The Chamu v'Levono are connected to the Galgal of Ikea. There's a circle of Ikea belongs over there. So that's why it would not be connected. But the Gemara says here the Malach. The Ma'aseh, if you look,
are worse than Hara. Like in fact, you call an Oivei Kachavim.
So that's really Avodah Zarah, regular Miskachovim. Doesn't mean that he's bowing down to juniper. That's not what he's doing. He's bowing down to the power that comes with juniper. So that's the whole idea of mazel. Mazel, by the way, why is a mazel called mazel? Mazel is a real thing. We have the mazolos. Mazolos has the different koiches come from above. Am Yisrael can get over it because we know that Am Yisrael is above the malam in a mazel. But there is a mazel. The mazel, loshon mazel, brought down maybe because we're ready for Chazal. The mazel is loshon noisli milevonon. It pours down from there. There's different things that are being affected through these tzinoyers. So when you talk about Oivei Kachavim, talk about the koyach of the Kachavim. The power that comes from there, and that's why it's real. It's not a shtus.
How's it real?
Meaning because there is really power coming from the cancellation. But if a person goes and divides it and makes it its own power, stand alone, not from a Kodesh Baruch Hu, that's Avodah Zarah. But it's not that it's some shtus. He's looking at some stone, and that is Avodah Zarah. Usually Avodah Zarah means that he's talking about the power. Now, people that don't know, they already read the Rambam when he speaks about the Gilgal of Avodah Zarah. So he says they used to worship to all the different koiches. They felt why Kodesh Baruch Hu gave these powers to these koiches, so that's why I'm giving it chashivas. And then the later generation just you forgot about what's the reason. So there was some stone they were bowing down to it because of the malach of the stones, and they already forgot about it. They just focused on the stone. They forgot the main reason, but the main reason was because of the power. That's what it is. This always connect to this. When we mentioned with the Zorah, the Sforno says, what is really the reason you don't give cover to all these koiches? The sun is an unbelievable koich. It's the chef of the whole world. So doesn't a king want you to give importance to his servant? Says the Sforno, yes, the king wants you, but not in front of the king. In front of the king, if the king is here and you give covet for the servant, that's a disgrace. Has to be to the king himself. Says that's what it says in the pasuk. Lo yelecho Elohim acherim al ponai, in front of my face. Because I'm here. You're going and bowing down to the sun. So there is a power in the sun, but the power in the sun is Batal Kodesh Baruch Hu. But that's what they're doing. So really, the second part is the more reasonable idea of the Zohar. And that's what's really with the Zohar. Sheikh in our Mishnah, talk about the actual item. Really, there's no Zohar over there.
Says, it's because of them you got 40 more years.
For your own purpose. Okay? What the Shaykh is?
I don't know.
Okay. Oma Avuno. That's right. Oma Avuno. Oma Avuno. Hoyso behimas chaveiroi revutzo lifnei aris kachoy. You have an animal which is sitting in front of the Zohar. Not his. Kevan sheshochet bo simon echot osro. Why? Meikar din, a person cannot designate the animal of his friend to be able to do. It's not his. But if he does a ma'aseh, the ma'aseh doesn't work. If he does a ma'aseh. Right, Rashi brings, if you want to see the beginning of Rashi, Rashi says, Lo yabai shaloi de mitzri mishuti korvus etz kochavim mishchid siman echot. The Havli by Chaim in Yisrael lehedjod lo mishum nevot shasot kochavim. V'lo mishum muktzeh sheekzu te korvus etz kochavim. It doesn't come nevot or muktzeh. Because you have a din of only like a voya. So first of all, bichlal, the whole idea of nevot and muktzeh doesn't apply to a yochid, to an individual. But if you do a ma'aseh beguf, is mitzvah. Rashi goes on to say it. Okay, so he goes on to say, Oh, and the end of Rashi, if you look at the last set of the Rashi, so he says, it's not his. If you do a maise, it affects it. So if he goes in and he does a little maise, what's the little maise? Siman echot, one siman of the animal. So also. So they want to even though we said someone bows down to the animals, not so why not? Because it's not his. Also, also. If you went and he did a maise, he's oyster. Good.
By the way, it's the same Rashi. It's not just one sin. It says even one sin is ladaka, even anything.
So that's the Amshach of the Gemara. Rashi's magdim what the Gemara is going to get to. It really is that's the next few lines of the Gemara.
What do you mean by mice? What does he do?
Shechti.
Just shechti, actually shechti.
Yeah. Shechti. More than says Shechti 1/7. We'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. But he did maises also. But yeah, the truth is, with most things, a good point just right now, because the world's going to build it up. So the idea is, any maise, once you did a maise in the animal, so you made it also, right? Okay, so says the Gemara. Isyav Nachman Avuno, Hashoyich Chadas b'Shabbos b'chutz, Lavos Kachovim, Chayov Sholosh Chatois. Someone who shechts a chatos outside on Shabbos is chayav to be chatos. Why to be chatos? Because, let's see Rashi, the last Rashi of the Amud, Sholosh Chatois, B'shoyigig Mishum Shabbos, Yishachat Shabbos, Umishum Sheichet Kodshe b'chutz, Umishum Lavos Kachovim, Sheshlosh Tomikaris. So I have three, Shabbos, b'chutz, and Avodah Zarah. Okay? Now, Rashi is pointing out, Chatas is not his. He doesn't own the Chatas. It's a Kodesh Kadoshim with Shel Gavoya. Belongs to Hashem. It's still Oyser. So he says, Sheikh Echad B'Shaz B'chut Ha'oz K'chovim Chayev Shechadoi Is V'yom Adikad Shachar B'Siman Echodos So Shchut Echut Zoy Mechayev. I don't understand. Once he cut one siman, he made it also. Why? Because it became Avodah Zarah. So it's already also. It's not shechted yet. It became also you have a maisa. So why you have shchut ichutz? Shchut ichutz you have to cut both simonim. When you get to the second simon, it's already also a gavaya because they were the Zarah. So at least he's chayav on Shabbos because he was cutting the animal. He's chayav on the Zarah because he did a maisa for the Zarah, but he's not chayav on shchut ichutz because it's not belonging to gavaya anymore. That's the one says the mem would base mechatech beoferu. Right now, it's mechatech beofer because it became also. What?
Even if the man will hold to shchit beside, well, the whole thing is one.
Yeah, doesn't matter because you just said that one simon makes it also for the zoy even more so. So I didn't even saw the shchita.
It's not one simon.
But one simon is only beside. One simon is not shchita.
Right, but if you do the whole thing, then the shchita is beside. So
I know, but here he became also for the zoy before the shchita began. Even Mandova was shchita with chilavat soif. Still, it happened in the middle of the shchita before the shchita ended. But a kosh kabandoma that says in the shchita b'soif. Okay, so he says, Rashi brings, what about what we learned before? If you did one siman inside, one siman outside, one siman outside, one siman inside, is chayav. Why there is chayav? So he says there it remain kosher till the end. That's why it's chayav. But here it was no shchita at all because it became also. And Rashi adds, I'm just putting all these nekudos are important. The Gabi Shabbos is because you're taking the neshama. So still, you took out the neshama. You killed the animal. And Avodah Zarah, you did Avodah Zarah. But shlichut is not. Says the Gemara, Omar Papa, Bechata Sohif Askinin Tekulu Behade Adade Kaser. I'll tell you what happened. He does the Bechata Sohif, which means he is Chata Sohif is only one sin. Not talking about an animal. To Bechata Sohif. So he made the shchut ichutz. When he does that one simin, it's already becoming shchut ichutz. Ready, Shabbos and Avodah Zarah will come together. So the Gemara, 1 second. This is what Mo was pointing out before. Michtei Ravuno keman omer l'shmaitzo keula. What's the whole basis of Ravuno? That he said it's based on ulo. I mean, Ula said, he said, Ravuna said. Right? That's how you start. You start doing one siman, you made it also. Why? You hold the kula that mice is an issue. According to Ula, which mice is an issue? So as Mo put down, as you put out too, Barry put down as well, that I don't have to do a full shchita, any maise. Anytime I'm affecting the animal by doing a maise, it's not only a dibur be'almo, it's already asur. So you say, you know what, we're talking about a bird. A bird, one simon is enough. Forget about even by the bird. Once you did a little bit of the simon, once you cut a little bit, so it already becomes asur. Something one says, Michte Rabunu Kimana Shmait so Kiulo. Vulo Maise Kol Duka Mani Maise. So the same Shiloh we asked before, more we asked before, you have two simonim. The first simon it becomes asur, and you have to do the second simon. Now the more say, even if you have to do only one simon, but the first cut is already asur, and you're not chayam until you finish that simon, until you get to the right of that simon. It says the Gemara, okay, I'll tell you very simple. We're talking about here, he's saying, I'm not doing over the zone until the end. So the beginning is not oyster, because he had no mind. He did avoid only in the end. Says the Gemara, Yachi, if so, ma'ir yochatos l'shrein and zevach. So why tell me davka chatos, any korban? Why? Because chatos is not his. Or the korbanos may be his. And therefore what? And therefore, let's see. So here, we have over here two pshatim in Rashi. I don't understand this question of the Gemara. When the Gemara asked the question, if so, they say, why have chatos about other korbanos? So let's see inside. Rashi brings two explanations to explain the Gemara. The first shot of Rashi is nothing to do with Ravuna. It's a question behind on the Mishnah, on the Brisa. We said that someone who shechts an animal, on Shabbos, it was a chatos, he's chayav. Why chatos? Any animal. Let's see Rashi. Rashi says,
but does a person to shechting and doing the avodah zarah have a right to say that it's not? I'm not being avodah zarah.
Yeah.
Shechita is one of the avodah zarah.
No, but he's not doing shechita. One makes avodah zarah. His mindset. The only reason the shechita is a problem.
The mindset without the ma'aser means nothing.
Yeah.
So he has to have the ma'aser.
Do both. Right. So he did a ma'aser with no mindset, no problem. His mindset was, and then them doing avodah. So before they have no problem.
It's all the same ma'aser. Here you decided you want the ma'aser to be chal.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
But whatever, it's your decision.
It's still the shechita. Just decide when you want the shechita to work.
But who says that you have the right to say it's not chal? If you're doing a ma'aser by the
no, but if not,
true and by the
surely. But what defines it? What defines it?
His machshava.
Yeah, but
it's not that he had a machshava at the end. He had a machshava at the beginning.
No,
should be chal until the
no.
end.
In the beginning, he's not doing the zohar. He's doing the zohar only there. That's what it means. So you avoid only there.
It should be chal from the beginning also.
No, he's not doing the zohar then.
But the ma'aser, while it's not after the shechita, during the
shechita, then he changes it
at the end of the shechita. But it's one ma'aser, so it's
that's we don't say that. It has to be with his decision. Now, so let's see now the Rashi says, when you're talking now towards the end of the middle narrow lines, not the very narrow lines, not the very wide lines, but the middle one. You have over there in 4 lines before the end of that. It says 6 lines. The time the shchita chutz la mishum siman echod dechad hasoif for the boim is basvicho loivdo. Won't you tell me it's only happening at the end of the zvicho? Ma'ir chatas b'nakat says Rashi liti hashoichet zevach te'mashma kol zlachim kol kabunas umidinakas chatos. Why is he saying chatos? So in this stage of the Gemara, according to Rashi's Shat, the yisim nami beoif shma minina b'chat hasoif kai. That's what we're talking about. The reason why we say chatos because we want to talk about oif. So what was the answer of the Gemara? Talk about chatas oif. Saying chatas oif doesn't help me. The first, right away when you do the first avodah, the first cut, it becomes asur. Says the Gemara, no. It says the Gemara is vicho. So Gemara is vicho. Why talk about oif? Now who said we talk about oif? Because you're taking chatos. Why chatos more than any other animals? Of course, because you want to say chatas oif. You can't say oilos oif as Rashi says right away because oilos oif is how many simoni when oilos oif? 2. So it must be chatos. That's why we say chatos. That's what Gemara is asking. Now, as Rashi goes, if you go look at the first wide line, very wide line, in the Rashi says in the 4th word, "V'hai pircho lavlo suri leravuna nokatla." It's not a question of ravuna. If you want to tell me, forget about ravuna. Really, only the end of the ma'aser becomes asur. It can be right? Without ravuna. Until now, I understood according to Ravuna why I say chatos, because I thought chatos oif. But once I tell you chatos oif doesn't help me, because I need to get to the end, so why I say chatos davka? That's the question according to the first Rashi. The second Pshat of Rashi, go down a few lines, and Rashi says it's in the end of the line. The Libur is the Kanil Kaporo, and then it says Lo Shanacher. So Rashi says Yachdik Mazvicho Uoivdo Ma'ir Yechatos. That's what I said at the beginning. Why is it chatos? Because you don't own it. It belongs to the Gavoy. Shavai Shokti Matovi Kula Krani. Lidni Zevach, speak about any carbon, Tishma Filu Shlom Shem Shalai Mechav Shosh Chatos. So even if it says, Talipokashim Kochmini Agmar Zicho, because he doesn't want to worship it until that. Umedinoga Chatos, Shvamino is Kachovim, Betchel Shchita Koma, Mishutar in the Chas, Eino Shaloi, Velomatzios, Maisezuto. You don't need a small mice. So the question according to the second Pshat of Rashi, the question of Ravuna. Ravuna said that we're talking about the one small mice is already a problem. Saying, well, if one small mice is a problem, so right away in the beginning of the Shechita should be Yasser. Saying, well, no, he meant I'm not doing it till the end of the Shechita. So why talk about a Chatos? Chatos is not his. Bishop, if you want to tell me that for a Chatos, which is not his, you have to do a big mice because it's not yours. So I understand, you go to the end of this Zvich without saying anything. But if you hold that a small mice is enough, so why talk about a chatos? Talk about any other karbanos. So according to the first Pshat of Rashi, this is really a general question.
The problem with the other karbanos is that it didn't have to be something that's not his, because it wasn't normally trying to be a riot to something.
It's his. Why would I speak about other karbanos in the Brisa? Because then it's his. So even a small mice, it works.
So what's Rashi mean that it could have just said a case of a shlom?
A shlomim, it's his. His shlomim.
Right, then you don't have behemoth chavera.
Right, I don't know. The Brisa not talking about behemoth chavera. The Brisa of Sheikhet Shabbos B'chutz, not talking about behemoth chavera. So why the Gemara understands the reason I'm giving you the example of chatos, it should be behemoth chavera, meaning not his, belongs to kosher. Why you have to get to that?
Oh, it was Rabbi Yochanan on the one.
Yeah. What? So in other words, according to the first Pshat of Rashi, the Gemara understood the reason we said chatos is because we want to get the chatos off. But I just established, it doesn't matter what he's doing a Gemara's Vichel. According to the second Pshat of Rashi, the reason he said chatos because I want it to be not his. But once you're telling me that anyway you're doing for the end, so any animal should work. Says the Gemara, that's a question according to both Pshat of Rashi. And the Omazut Nishvede Apapach Ma'askinon, Kegon She'achatzi Kone Pogum, V'hoisif Olav Kolshu V'gomroi, the Kulu Be'adei Adadikasi. What happened was, there was already a hole. And all he did was a small mice to finish it. He didn't say Gemar Zvicho. But there was already half of the gargaris was already cut. He just added to it and made it right. It's a small mice. So now we answer all the questions. We're talking about Chatas Oif. Because if it's talking about an animal, it has to do two simonim. And it won't be mice koto. And I want to tell you, that's what he said the case of Chatos. And I want to tell you it's not his, according to the second Pshat of Rashi. Because to tell you the Chiddush, even a small mice works with someone that nothing is not his. And we're talking about a small mice that brings you all three things. Chatos is because it's the last bit. Shchut Echutz, because he did it outside. And Shabbos. All three happen. So we conclude that it's the last bit of the Shechita. So the
last bit, it just has to be whatever's past the 50. And say it was
he went for 49 to 51. Let's say, or even 50 to 51 could be two.
50 to 51.
Right.
It don't have to be the last bit.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the last bit to get the shechita real.
Get the shechita.
Sorry. If now the Ravuna said that one simon is enough, meaning small maise, lo have the chatas liyufte. We wouldn't have any problem with chatas, right? Why? My maise rabba. Without the idea that we just established a modality, even the smallest maise makes it usher, I would say, this goes back to what we said before, that you have to do a big maise. So the reason why by animal you have to go and check, it's an animal, not a bird, two simonim, right? Because if I do just a beginning of the mice, it doesn't make it puzzle. I need to have a big mice to make it puzzle. Okay, so that's really just a summary of what we said before. If now that we had the chiddush, a small mice works, I would say you need a big mice. Would be a question. If you would not say that you can affect your friend's animal, also whatever kosher v'chatos. You can oyster only yours, not your friends. Chatas is not yours, so you can't oyster it. So there's no problem. So this animal, he's doing the share with the zara, it's a problem with the zara, but he's not oyster, that's it's not yichav, it's chuti chutz. Right? But Rashi says, "But ma'ase koldu." Right? It has to be a big ma'ase. Says the more pshito. So, well, yeah, of course, that was the whole point. Especially according to the second Shav Rashi, the whole reason I said chatos, so tell you it's not his. So that's what I'm saying, because what's the chiddush? Chiddush is saying, no, maybe chatos is his. What do you mean, it's not mine, I don't own it. No, because I'm getting kapar from it, so maybe it considered to be mine. So I would say maybe you could affect it like an owner of an animal, that you could affect the maker with the zar. So that's what he's saying. It's that. And the Gemara says, without Ravuno, so really the Mahalach of the Gemara is of telling you the smallest mice that works for someone else's animal. So now I have to explain to you why chatas doesn't become awesome. So I have to tell you it's the last bit. But without that, I would say I need to have a big mice to do a chatas, or a big mice to do something which is not mine. Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman, Rav Amnon, Rav Yitzchak Amri, Ein od moisa dover shaloi. They come to argue, and they're not. You do not oyster your friend's mice. Rashi brings it to lashonis. Is it mean even we're talking about only a small mice, but a big mice is oyster, or they're arguing that no mice is oyster? You cannot oyster your friends. Question: to what extent? Meisivei says the Gemara, sheichet chatos b'shabos b'chutz lavus kachovim chayo sholosh chatos. That's the price we just learned. So you shech chatos and Shabbos outside from the zoro. You chayv v'chados v'okrim v'chados oif v'chatzi kalepako. How do we explain it? The last little bit. Time with the chados oif. Who the cool about that case? Nafka, because we said this case chados oif with a little bit. Ava with afkuv from dalef zevach loi. Zevach not. Fi ein od moisa dov shein shloi. Ma'ir chados oif. Afil chaz ve'imo nami. If you hold, you cannot oyster your friends. So then why are you saying, according to the whole chesed, why I'm saying it's chatas oif? Says the Gemara, so why you say that oyster shein shaloi? So what's your problem? Answers the Gemara, this is the flip side of what we said before. Because you are koined like kapara, according to this mandama, you could affect it. Usually you can't affect somebody else's. But this is not completely removed from you. What is a chatos? It's your animal. You brought the Beis Hamikdash to get a kapara. So it's yours to a certain extent, and it works for you. Sometimes you can oyster it. But you oyster someone as your friend that's not yours at all, you can't affect it. Says the Gemara, Toshba, ending over here, the riots. Base oichzim mesakin, that's also our Mishnah. V'shoichedit, echad l'shu echad l'koleil, echad l'shu dover kosher. So you have two people shechting together, shchitas psula. So the more understand, one of the two people, one of them is the owner, one of them is not. But how can the one who is not the owner affect the animal that's not his? Says the Gemara, they're both partners, meaning they both own it. That's why you can ruin it. Toshma. Someone who's metame tires, who's metame mixes the tires together with other items. Right? So we speak about here, but we speak about Trumo. So he's part of the Shalim. Hi, what about the idea that he's a mazik? Here's Yechezkel shein unika. Right? Now, if it's Rashi says, if you want to see Rashi's side, maybe interesting Rashi over here in a minute, just to see inside, Patrim el Shalim, Rashi says to the right, the mazik b'shoigeg chayov, kedekayim l'odom muad lo yilom b'ner ben yoshim ben shoigeg ben mezit. So why are you not chayov? Hoch Yechezkel shein unika v'lo shve'ezik. You don't see the ezik. Or mezit chayov l'shalim, the close to Rabbanan. The reason why it's chayov l'shalim mezit because of Knas. Umishum, the Kim of the Aminei, lo yifter. What about the fact it's Chaim Yisrael? Avagav the Chai Misu shows Kachavim, but feel loy true boy, the loy miktil Chai Malon, Chai Misu shaking between Mashalim. It's Chai Miso, even if it's not even a mice to get the Miso. Hochav the true boy, the community time says, get him shot, the Agbe, Mad Lois to be Chai Shlumi, Schab Ram Shalach Chastis, so that coming together. He picks it up, he's Chai to pay, and if the Zor comes on later, that's what he's Chai. Okay? Now, what is more saying over here, he's doing all this talk about he's doing for his friend. That's what he has to pay. So Bishagi is part because he has a chain and Niker. But he's Chayav L'Shalom. How can you do that? It's not yours. So how can you make it a servant to Zorro? Achinami the Islay Shutris Begavo. So here you talk about he has a partnership. So the more it brings really what we learned in the Sugya, it's a Machlekes Ulo and Rav Nachman. Or maybe Rav Huna and Rav Nachman the name ones. Can a person be oisa something which is not his if he does a maise? According to Rav Huna based on Ulo, person does a maise, he ruins his friend's animal, makes it with the zara. And according to Nachman, you have you can't oisa a maise. It could be a maise godol. You do. Rashi debates it, but at least a small maise is not oisa his friends. And all the rights he brought us come to say why he has an ownership and why can't he be oisa. So, stop over here, continue from your position tomorrow night.